Hey everyone, welcome to the Do the Thing podcast. This is your host, Stacey Lauren. Oh my gosh, you guys, I am so excited. I'm bringing on one of my closest friends who actually came on in the very beginning of Do the Thing, episode number 15, while I was still getting my training wheels going. And I asked for her to come back because there's so many other things in her story that I wanted to explore more now that I've been doing this a while and I really understand really how she does the thing, because I've been living by her side for so many years and seeing it, but I never understood the back end until I've been going through interview after interview and really getting to see what really is able to get her to move. And I thought this was really important for me to be able to explore this with her. So then you could see that anyone can do the thing. And it's just a matter of flexing the muscle enough so you can get confident with the things that you're doing and be able to do anything you want in life, and even things that you might not even think you want, because as you're doing the thing, you get more clarity in the things that you're looking to do. So I'm so excited to welcome Chrissy Mcdannell to the show. Hey, Chrissy.
Hey, Stace. Wow, what an intro. And I can't believe you told me I was episode 15 and now you've done 130. So congrats to you. That's amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, it's exciting because I knew in the very beginning I was still nervous and trying to figure it out. And you were so cool and you were able to come on and we were able to do it. It was still a great episode and I love it. But there's just so much more that I'm excited to explore with you.
Cool. I'm excited too. Let's do it.
Yeah. What I really was thinking, because as I'm doing more episodes, I'm getting to see really how people do the thing. And one of the things that I think stops people from being able to take action is their need to figure it all out before they even start. And I feel like that's one of your power abilities, is this ability to move without knowing every single thing that's coming ahead of you. And I'd love to just explore that a little bit more with you.
Yeah. So I have a few examples of that. I have a very recent one that's going on this week, actually. And so it's just my style. And I brought on a business partner a couple months ago into the Magnolia firm, and he's the integrator and the implementer, and he's had the engineering programming background. So he likes things laid out in advance and then tackling each step. And and he's like, Chrissy, can you please when you go to do an initiative, Chrissy, please put a piece of paper, write it all out first, and then we execute. And I literally was like, Khaled, this weekend I sat there with a blank piece of paper and I'm like, my brain does not work that way. My brain works like, take a step. Now what's the next step? Now what's the next step? And my team knows it. Lauren's been with me for 5 years. She gets it. Some of the new team members were like, oh, we're just kind of like putting it together as we go. I call it building the parachute as you're falling. So since Friday, because we're launching the Rapid Acquisition Club, which I know you're excited. We're finally launching tomorrow morning, and we're working on it Thursday, Friday, because of course that's how I roll. And Friday was just like, okay, the landing page. Okay, shoot, now we need a checkout page so people can pay. Oh, shoot, somebody paid. They need to go to a thank you page. I mean, I'm not exaggerating. Oh, no, we need confirmation emails. We need a separate email to the sellers presenting. We need to get them a slide deck example to model. We need to prep that. I mean, it was like one by one by one, like a domino. Yeah, the only way Khaled agreed to it was I was like, Khaled, don't worry about it. I got it. For me, it's just doing the thing. Just get one foot in front of the other, and you just move. And so the joke was I kept putting the parachute emoji on Slack. Anytime I asked for, I'm like, oh shit, girls, we forgot to do this. And so there'd be a little parachute emoji happening on Slack or Trello or emails. And then I fessed up to Khaled. I was like, I had to pull the whole team in on Friday because he was off Friday. Because he's like, do not use the rest of the team. You and Lauren got to do it together. And I start pulling in everybody on Friday. I'm like, oh my God, it's a big undertaking. So yeah, I mean, that's my biggest advice out the gate. Again, that's my style, and not everybody has that style. And my team agreed today. Kesley was like, you're right. There's almost no way to know every single step until you're in the middle of it. It's hard. It's things you'd never think of until you come up against it, right? So.
Yeah. And I think there's so much in this. And just for the listeners, in case you didn't listen to Chrissy's first episode, so what she's doing now is she's selling businesses and helping people buy businesses. So she does both ends. And it's amazing because I've seen her grow with this business, and pretty much all the businesses that she's either built by herself and then sold them, or acquired them and then sold them, have led her to this moment and being able to do this business. And so the cool thing about this is you have Khaled, who's really successful, and he's able to do the thing by thinking of each step, and that's how he works the best, but he still does it. And then there's you, who's wildly successful, and then you figure it out along the way. And it's great to be either one. But the thing is, and the thing that I really wanted to stress with the listeners and why I thought this was really cool to bring you on right now as you're in this amazing moment of creating this big thing, and I'll remember to talk to them about what the Rapid Acquisition Club is too. But as you're in the middle of starting this new thing that could be, who knows what it's going to be, is that if you guys are suffering with analysis paralysis or you're not able to move, then it is okay not to know every single step as you start. You can just get started and just dip a toe in, do the next step. What's the next easiest step for me to do? And this is the thing I think that I really love about how you work, because it's really just continuing on with what you need, and actually holds you even more accountable to do the thing, because you're like, oh, now I need this.
Yeah, definitely. And again, on the team meeting, I brought it up. I wanted it as a discussion. Our team is incredible and kicks ass. And like, again, they know my style. They think it's funny. I know what I'm good at, what I'm not good at. And I could kind of make fun, have parachute emojis all over the place. But I told the team, I'm like everybody. And again, Lauren's witnessed this for 5 years. Yeah, it's a little sloppy, but craziness behind the scenes, but we will deliver. My number one thing is to over deliver and keep everybody happy, right? So the customer doesn't see the chaos. And once they run through it, it's nice. It's organized. I'm very organized. I am an organized person, and I'm an overachiever. So once we go to market, nobody knew how chaotic it was behind the scenes. And my team was laughing, and they get it. We don't put anything out half-assed.
Yeah. And so I'd love to talk about the Rapid Acquisition Club, because since this is your new thing, I mean, you're doing already the business where you're buying and selling and all that stuff, and that's been successful. And now this is the thing that I've been so excited for you to start, because I see the need in the market, and I'm just excited that you're doing it. So if you don't mind just kind of sharing a little bit about what that is.
Yeah. And it kind of happened as a fluke. I brought one seller. We couldn't take them on. We were so busy. We usually run wait lists. Great company. I knew a couple of my buddies were looking for this kind of SaaS business. I was like, hey, Mr. Seller, let's bring you on Zoom. Let me bring my buddies on all at once and just do a little presentation. It'll be like a baby Shark Tank. They're going to rapid fire questions. To me, it was just a very quick way to help everybody at the same time. So we did it last summer, and I was like, wait a minute, this is super cool. I know other business advisors that are charging $200 a month for pocket listings, off-market listings before they go live. People that are thinking about selling, and they're amazing companies. Sometimes they're underpriced, and they'll send just an email, and they'll send it once a month. And they're not even that great, and they'll charge $200 a month. So I was like, oh my gosh, we could charge $250, bring on one seller to present, and tomorrow we're going to over deliver, and we're doing 3. So I'm excited. And so, yeah, bring them on. And it's like, I call it the friendly Shark Tank. So sellers coming on, they're doing a 5 to 7 minute presentation with a slide deck tomorrow. All the potential buyers are on. Again, these are companies that aren't really listed or represented yet. So then the buyers can just go straight to the seller. They can negotiate the deal, or the seller could have us help them on the deal if they need us to. Either way, it's totally cool with us. So yeah, I mean, I'm super excited about it. And there isn't anything that I'm aware of in the exit when it comes to selling a company. I see this all the time with people raising capital. They'll do these pitches. There'll be investors in the room or on Zoom. I've sat in on them, but I'm like, gosh, why don't people do this when people sell a company? It's very similar. So yeah, we're really thrilled.
And I love how it happened by accident. You have too many people, and then you're like, what can I do with these people? And then that's when you decided to do that group thing with your friends, and it started that way, and then you saw the need. I just think there's something so cool about that, because by you moving and doing the thing and keeping your eyes open, you have an open mind. Even though you're on this track, your mind's still open in that with your North Star of what you were wanting to be, have your company be successful. And then now you're helping service more people because you're able to provide this.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, exactly. We were just turning away so many clients. Again, amazing companies, profitable companies. Some just weren't in our wheelhouse. We're never going to take one on that we don't think, we have 100% closing ratio. So I got to make sure we can take them and to the exit, to the finish line. So these are some that it's just not in our wheelhouse, but they're cool, amazing companies. Some don't make the net income minimum we have, right? Because we're up market now.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we're excited to help way more people this way.
Yeah. So this brings up a really good point. So I want to talk to the listeners for a minute, because I have a lot of people that have reached out to me since they're listening to the Do the Thing podcast. They're part of the community and they're starting to say, I'm ready. I want to own my time. And so they're working in these professional jobs and they're wanting to do something. So there's a few options, right? You can either work in the gig economy, you can start your own business, or you can buy a business. And I don't think a lot of people realize that they're able to buy a business in terms of how to do that. And I just thought that's something that you talk about a lot, is how you're able to help people that have never owned a business buy it. Maybe we can talk a little bit about that, because this Rapid Acquisition Club is a way for them to join, see these businesses, and then when something actually comes up that excites them, then that's when they actually have the possibility to be able to buy something that they can own and own their time.
I love that. We actually changed the verbiage. It originally said you must be ready to buy and qualified and all this stuff. And I was like, hey, Lauren, let's take that off, because some people do want to kind of dip their toes in and learn more about business acquisitions. Acquisitions are getting so hot right now. Buying a cash flowing business. Okay. Startups it's not good right now. You guys know, I don't know when this is airing, but a couple of days ago, SVB, Silicon Valley Bank, imploded. That was a bunch of startup money. So in VC capital. So yeah, it's getting even more popular to buy these cash flowing businesses and business acquisition in general. So yeah, I mean, we welcome everybody and anybody, because you never know once they'll be ready. There's so many unique ways to get capital to buy a business that people are unaware of. You can do an equity out of your home, obviously. You can pull against your 401k. There's different unique ways you can do that. If you get laid off, if you quit, or if that company gets acquired. And so it's like you're your own bank. You're just pulling from your own 401k, which is cool. Borrowing from friends, family, investors. So yeah, a lot of ways to kind of dip your toes into acquiring a business, whether it's part-time, keep your full-time job, or go all in.
And if they join Rapid Acquisition Club to see the different businesses that are for sale and they like one and they're like, now, let's say they're building the parachute and they're like, I have no idea how I'm going to buy it, but then they decide they want to buy one. Is that something your team will be able to help them with in terms of at least giving them the resources to find those options?
Yeah, we're finally launching a buy side of our division, because we were strictly on the sell side, but now we have a lot of people, whether they're private equity, family offices, individual buyers, that want us to help them find a business and run the transaction from their side. Totally cool. We're happy to do so. We also offer consulting. But otherwise, boom, we put them in touch directly with the seller immediately in the Rapid Acquisition Club, which is cool. But you're right. Sometimes they need a little bit of hand-holding.
Yeah. And then the other thing I was also wanting to speak to is for a new business owner, someone that maybe's had this professional job and they're ready to take the leap and they want to buy a business. And you mentioned a little bit about the startup, but in terms of what would be the benefit for them to buy something versus start from scratch? If you can just speak a little bit to that, because I think there's so much there where it's an immediate win when they are able to just transition into something like this.
Yeah, definitely. So a lot of things. So I'm a big fan of OPM, which is other people's money. If you can qualify for an SBA loan, of course, they take longer. We've got 2 transactions right now in them, but you're putting down 10 to 20%. Maybe you have $100,000. Let's use 10% for an example. You have $100,000 in cash in the bank, and everybody listening, the dollar is getting devalued by the minute. They're about to print more money to get these banks out of trouble. And so if you got money sitting in the bank, I'm biased. I'm going to tell you to put it in a business, but otherwise real estate is something else. Do not let it just sit in a bank account. It's just going to devalue every minute of the day. But so let's say you have 100K and then you're putting 10% down for SBA loan. And that means you qualify for $1 million business, right? Which is great. And there are 10-year terms. And so making sure they'll do the due diligence for you. They'll make sure that business is cash flowing enough to service the loan. So that's a great way. Again, borrowing money is a great way. So and I'm more of a fan, to be honest, of keeping your corporate job and just kind of easing into the business instead of like jumping ship altogether. Maybe you have benefits, healthcare, et cetera, or you're going to give all that up overnight. So I'm more of a fan of kind of like dovetailing into the business if possible, especially if there's a team on board and they can run it.
I didn't even think about that. I love that idea because usually the owner that is selling the business is not working 40 hours. They're only working a certain number of hours. So it is easy to do that where you're able to keep your regular job, keep that consistency. Then as you get your feet wet and the owner transfers over whatever the duties are that you're supposed to be doing and you feel comfortable, then you can make the decision to leave your current position.
Yeah, I love that you brought that up. Most of our sellers are right now at 10 hours a week, roughly, right? When we take them to market, they're at 10. They've kind of just worked their way out of the position, which is great because you're exactly right. And then there's some unique opportunities, like we're showcasing one tomorrow where the owner is staying on. He's got rapid growth, but he's kind of hit a ceiling personally on where he could take the business. So he wants a partner to come in. So he's staying on. I mean, that's great. So he just needs a partner to come in to help him scale and inject some capital. So that's kind of a really unique situation. So yeah, the owner stays on. There was one business, he wanted to completely sell the company altogether, but he was going to stay on full time. And that's super cool too.
I love this because I just don't think there's a lot of people that understand how you're able to make that jump to leave a regular 9-to-5 job and go into owning your own business. And this seems like a really good way for them to do it. And the Rapid Acquisition Club is a great way for them to learn about these businesses and they get more knowledge. And then when they're ready, they're almost able to watch it. And then when they're ready, they're able to make the move and actually buy one.
Without a doubt. And that's the other huge advantage is all these buyers in the room on the Zoom, in the little friendly Shark Tank, as I call it, there's going to be some experienced investors in there, rapid fire, asking questions to the seller. The seller's going to be ready. We're going to prepare them. But then there's going to be first time buyers in there. And so they're actually going to learn from each other. And a lot of times one person asks a question that two other people were about to ask. So it's just this really easy way to collectively learn from each other and ask and have the seller there to answer those questions.
And then I'd love to talk to you about, so now back to when you're selling, because when you're selling businesses individually, when you first started, you had a cap of the amount of business that you wanted to sell. And this is separate, just so you guys know, we're switching topics now from the Rapid Acquisition Club to the core of what Chrissy's business, the Magnolia Firm, does, which is basically selling businesses to people that want to buy them. And when you first started, you had a limit of the amount that you wanted to start at, and you had a certain avatar that you were looking to sell their business. And then I loved how it evolved. And again, this is another example of that building the parachute as you're jumping off the building. And so I'd love to just kind of speak to that a little bit too.
Of course. I know. I wonder what the analogy would be for that, where I'm like, I just want to stay small. And then like we get bigger and bigger and bigger. So there's got to be a different type of analogy for that. Or maybe take the plane higher, higher, higher before I jump out. And Stacey's in a mastermind with me. We've all been in for like over a decade. And yeah, everybody in that room, I was like, look, guys, I want a boutique M&A firm. It's just going to be me doing deals. Lauren's my right hand on back end admin stuff. And that's it, guys. I'm making great money. This is easy. I could run 5 deals at a time. My sweet spot. So it wasn't so much a cap. It was just a sweet spot of like 300 to 500K for purchase prices. They were quicker to sell. They were easy. At least I thought they were easy. I'll explain that in a second. And then females, because women kept coming to me, my friends, and then other women. So we kind of branded it for women that I was helping female entrepreneurs exit. And then guys were starting to come in and they're like, no, help me too. And just obviously, and this will shift down the road, I'm sure, because more women are starting companies now. But right now, men exit at a higher dollar amount just by nature, right? Because they've had the businesses longer, they grew quicker, et cetera. So yeah, we jumped up market like 10x overnight. I signed, even before Khaled came on, like a $3.2 million listing was next. So like I went from 300K to 3.2. So right now we're selling companies between 3 to 5. We might jump up to 10 real soon here. So it's kind of these big jumps that we're getting at. And so the easy part comment I just made, when everybody told me that, they're like, hey, the bigger deals are easier than the little ones. But then I was like, yeah, but they probably take longer to sell. Okay, so then we had this 3.5 that we, not to brag, but we sold it in 3 weeks. Closed on next week. Yeah. So I was like, it's SBA loan, it's taking a little bit longer, but full price, 3 weeks. My seller is ecstatic. It's closed, knock on wood, it's supposed to close next week on his birthday, which is pretty cool. He's going to have an exciting birthday. But yeah, and so they are easier. I hate to say it. And look, I think we can close them just as quick. It only takes one buyer. I don't understand why everybody's like, oh, it takes 6 to 12 months. I think if you change your mindset and just freaking hustle and get that number out of your head, just because everybody's saying it takes 6 to 12 months, it only takes one buyer. So why, you know what I mean? Like, you're really pushing it. Why couldn't it be quicker to find that buyer on a deal that's cash flowing really well?
And the cool thing is because you practiced on the $300,000 ones and you were selling them record speed, crazy fast. So in your mind, you hadn't seen people that have done the $3 million deals fast. So you had a minute where you're like, well, I don't want to do it because it's longer to sell. But then once you realize that, no, I can do these the same way that I did the $300,000 deals, it opened your mind to now know, oh, I can do it all the time. It's just they have a different mindset than I have.
Exactly. So it's a lot of fun. And yeah, you guys are all giggling and laughing. Then I bring on a business partner. Now we're bringing on, we have a vision that we've planned out to bring on like 60 business intermediaries in the next 5 years, which we're super excited to do. We just hired a new team member today, actually, bringing them in because we're just massively at capacity. We're overflowing. And so, yeah, we're excited.
I'd love to also talk about your very first business for people listening, because this comes from this confidence and this knowledge. It comes from practice, right? And you doing it over and over again. And I love the idea of the first one because you started with such a minimum investment and then you were able to sell that one. And I think there's something really powerful about that story too.
I know, and it's fun because I recently moved to Little Italy, downtown San Diego. And that was my region of house cleaning, the condos and the buildings in this area. So it's kind of like full circle for me now where I'm like, oh my gosh, this is great. I get to live in a brand new building. And I remember cleaning toilets in these similar buildings in the area. So I was 23, $45,000 worth of credit card debt, couldn't get a business loan for the life of me, no matter how hard I tried, because there was a cleaning company for sale. So this is 2003. And so back in the day, and so I couldn't get a loan even for $50,000 because I saw one for sale in the newspaper, 2003. And so, yeah, I'm like rolling up my sleeves. I'm like, well, I guess I got to do it the hard way. And I charged a vacuum cleaner and some supplies for $300. I don't even think I could charge. Everything was maxed out. It's like $300 I scraped together. And yeah, hired 2 women that didn't speak English. I didn't speak Spanish. And the 3 of us went and started cleaning. And I have to tell you that, and I shared it with a friend of mine recently. When I was cleaning, and again, I didn't even know how to clean. Back in that, I had a cleaner back then. I was like, oh gosh, I got to learn how to clean. And so but again, it's do the thing. It's a step by just figure it freaking out. And so, especially when your backup is up against the wall, and which it was back then for me. And I bartended at night to pay my bills. It was chaotic. Again, I was 23. I had all the energy in the world and it was fun. It was fun at the time. It was crazy. But when I was scrubbing those toilets, and I wasn't into manifesting or Tony Robbins or anything back then, I think I just naturally do this. I was like scrubbing the toilet. And I was already visualizing having a big team and me as the owner and not being so involved in the business or working in the office and not cleaning anymore. As I'm scrubbing the toilet, that's where my mind was at all times, just naturally. It's so funny. It wasn't like, oh, this sucks, I'm cleaning a toilet. So I think that tremendously helped. Had the business 5 years, 35 plus employees. We were like the largest privately owned cleaning company at the time. Cleanology, really a cool, I love that I did that because now it's like, I'm more grateful for the success I have now, 19 years later. I'll never forget those moments. And it was just scrappy and it was crazy at the time. It wasn't at the time, but now looking back.
And then we didn't actually talk about this on your first episode. If you don't mind, I'd love to talk about the Richard Branson story, because I feel like that's you also having this idea of something you want to do. And then you figured it out as you went forward.
So, because I thought about this today, because it's on my vision board now, because I told him I'm going to write a bigger check. I told him to his face at breakfast in Paris, I'm going to write another check with another 0 on it. And then he had logged it to the whole world, which is funny. My friends were shooting me screenshots like, oh my God, he put it on Twitter, he put it on, and he told the whole world, which I'm going to do it. And so it's been on I update my vision board each year. My shower goals, it's laminated. It's in my shower, Stace knows. Shower goals. Everybody listening, I made it up, but everybody listening, please laminate your vision board, stick it in your shower. We've been doing that for over a decade, and it's a game changer because you're in there. It's mindless, right? When you're taking a shower and it's right there and your subconscious will work on it. So long story short, like 7 years ago, met him in San Diego for a split second, handed him a very small check. He called my cell phone right after. I was blown away. I was like, oh my God, he called my cell phone. And then a couple of years, and then I made checks with the new dollar, bigger check, right? I physically wrote the check. I should do that on my vision board. I didn't do that. Okay, I should do that. An actual check, because Jim Carrey did this for $10 million. He shared with Oprah. That's where I got the idea. And then I was like, oh, that's smart. Just physically write the check. I had it framed on my desk at my office. I had it framed in both the break rooms of the spas so that my whole team knew. And I'm sure my team was like, she's out of her mind. She thinks she's going to cut this check. And so once I sold the spa, boom, cut the check. And I was lucky enough, I emailed it. I was like, hey, Richard, I have another check, but it's got another zero on for you, another zero added. And yeah, he invited me to Paris at breakfast. I handed it to him. We got to hang out, talk. I mean, that's my idol. It's been my idol forever, 15 years. So yeah, I mean, again, just go for it. I'm a big manifester, and I know it's woo-woo for some people, but I swear to God, it works. And yeah, we did it. And he did a little cute thank you to my team when I was there. Because he kept thanking me, and I'm like, I would never be able to cut that check without 37 women at Eco Chateau. So I'm like, Richard, can you just do a quick little thank you video to the girls at Eco Chateau? And he did. And I texted to them while I was in Paris, and they were super excited.
I'd love to hear for the listeners what your biggest piece of advice is for them, especially if they're in that mode of wanting to plan every step, and how you're able to move without knowing exactly what you're doing, and then not really having, even though you have manifesting, you're not really having an attachment to the outcome because you're letting it evolve as it's supposed to.
Yes. And you will get paralyzed by perfection, paralyzed by planning every little step. It's not, as long as you're taking baby steps and you keep going, it's not failure. And I heard that recently on a podcast. I loved it. Okay. It's failure if you quit altogether. It's failure if you're not doing anything. If you're at least taking baby steps and in some sort of motion, some things might work, some might not. I mean, that's my advice. Just start, right? Otherwise, you'll never start. And I see it. Some of my brilliant friends, they're perfectionists and they never started. It breaks my heart because they would be billionaires by now, and they won't start. And they won't pull the trigger. And I can't tell them. Sometimes I tell them that, but that's going to have to be something that they're going to figure out over time.
Yeah. And please share, because the first time you were on, you weren't on social media yet, and now you're sort of expanding into that. So if you can just share how people can follow along with you. And then also, I'd love you to share about Rapid Acquisition Club if they want to check that out, because I think that a lot of my listeners are in that place where they're wanting more and they just can't take that step to get more. And I love the idea of them almost being able to be what is that called? A window watcher, where they're watching through the window by seeing these businesses. And it's a great way to sort of embody this idea that you could take your own business over.
Yeah. Or even like a fly on the wall. That was it. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
All terms work. I think both terms work. Yeah. Because we thought, again, we weren't going to do that. But then at the same time, I'm like, no, let's do that. Right. They're in the club. They're learning. There's people charging like $20,000 for masterminds to learn how to acquire businesses. I think that's ridiculous. I think being in there and just being in the action is so much more valuable. So yeah, I mean, Magnolia Firm is very active on social media now. So like you said, it's Instagram, Facebook. So you can find YouTube, LinkedIn. We're pushing tons of content out. For me personally, you can follow me on LinkedIn. That's where I personally do the most content myself. And you go to our website, obviously, and you can see the Rapid Acquisition Club on there also. Yeah, we're going to because we have a bunch of sellers we could present. Again, I'm squeezing in 3 tomorrow when it was supposed to be 1, but then we still have some amazing companies where we're like, hey, we'll spotlight you in 2 to 3 weeks. So I think I'll be running it every 2 to 3 weeks, which is, again, we're big on over delivering. So we told everybody, hey, it's once a month, it's one company. And now I'm like, look, let's do as many as we can and just over deliver for the members of the club.
So exciting. I feel like you're giving such an opportunity for someone that maybe isn't able to start something on their own, or it's going to take so much work. And then you're able to almost let them be a fly on the wall so they get comfortable. It's a good way to dip your toe in, get comfortable, and then finally be able to take the plunge once you kind of feel ready after you've seen it for a little bit.
We get potential, when I handle the phone still a little bit. I know the team covers a lot, but when we have prospective buyers, especially, and I have a place in my heart for first-time buyers. I love them. And majority of our listings are first-time business buyers, believe it or not. jumping ship from corporate because they got all this freedom during COVID. And they're like, wait a minute, I want that freedom. And so most of ours are first-time business buyers. But when people call to inquire about a business, you can tell they're novice. And they're scared to ask certain questions, or they're like, oh, this is probably a dumb question, no question is dumb. But there's this trepidation I've noticed. And so again, put them in a room all together. They can hear the questions. They can get more comfortable when they see it in real time being asked to a seller. And then again, I'm in there too, I'm moderating. So I'm really excited. I think it'll get a lot more people interested in buying their first business.
Totally. Thank you so much for coming on. This was so much fun.
Thanks. This is the first time I'm talking on a podcast about Rapid Acquisition Club. I didn't want to talk about it until I knew we were officially launching. And I know you've been, for 6 months, Stacey's been like, launch it. I'm like, oh, we got to sell. We just had to sell. We had so many people on a wait list that was my priority, was getting our sellers to the finish line. And now I'm like, okay, great. We got team, we got the processes. Cal is amazing too. So it freed me up to work on this, which was my initiative. Even though he's kind of like, no, let's wait. We're still pretty crazy busy. And I was like, no, I got to launch it. So I'm really excited for the launch. And yeah, thanks for having me on.
Thank you. And for everyone listening, do the thing.
Do the thing.